Hello, my name is Sandy Adomaitis, the social media director for the Page International Screenwriting Awards, and your host for the Writers Hangout, a podcast that celebrates the many stages of writing, from inspiration to the first draft, revising, getting a project made, and everything in between. We'll talk to the best and the brightest in the entertainment industry and create a space where you can hang out, learn from the pros, and have fun. Hey, there you are. Glad you made it. I went ahead and ordered you a cup of coffee, cream, 2 stevias, side of apple pie heated. I got your back. Today, our guest of honor at the Writers Hangout is screenwriter Vivian Lee, whose credits include From, a brand new sci-fi horror show on Epix, and for Netflix, Lost in Space, The Dark Crystal, Age of Resistance, and Cowboy Bebop. Let's get started. Writers, today we have the lovely and talented Vivian Lee. Vivian, thanks so much for hanging out with us today.
Thank you very much for having me. This is very exciting.
We're friends in real life, correct?
In real life, we are friends.
Oh, good.
Correct.
Just want to make sure something happened. But in true Hollywood fashion, we haven't seen each other in years. Why? Is it the traffic?
The traffic, as you know, living on one side of LA, if you're not on the east side, you're never going to see me. If I'm on the west side, I'm never going to see you. Like, it's just,
People have no idea how hard LA is on friendships. But we met on NBC's American Dreams, which starred Brittany Snow, Tom Verica, Gail O'Grady, Sarah Ramos, which leads me to my first question. You came up through production. You worked as a production assistant and a writer's assistant before being assigned a script on Ghost Whisperer, which starred Jennifer Love Hewitt. First, can you explain to the audience the WGA rule for assigning scripts outside a writing staff?
Of course. Now, bear in mind, this was a while ago, so I don't know if the rules have changed or they've amended the rules. But when I was a script coordinator, the rule was if a show had more than 22, 23 episodes, the WGA required that show to actually have 2 freelance scripts. And what that means is to find writers that weren't already on staff, to give opportunities, either someone outside of the room, or in our case, to give them an opportunity. And I think it was a way for the WGA to make sure that there were other opportunities that were given out.
That's so great.
It's great. And also, if they didn't follow that rule, I think the show got fined.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, I don't think that, if I remember correctly, I don't think the fine was really that significant. So it was more like there were shows out there who would just take the fine. Our show was actually really good about not doing that. We actually did, on Ghost Whisperer, did make sure to follow that suggestion. Yeah. I was actually thinking about the time when that happened. What was interesting was that because I was a script coordinator and that was my job to make sure to follow those rules, and I really wanted a script, so I would really hammer in and be like, guys, it's the rule. Like, you guys don't want to be fined. Like, I really made a point to scare. So that was something I remember distinctly going. I had to remind them every season, like, you have to give out 2 scripts, or else, God knows what will happen. Nothing happened.
Because you came up in production, do you see things differently from someone who got a writing job right out of college? I mean, you saw all the inner workings before you got on staff.
Yeah, I feel like because I worked 5, 6, 7 years in production, it really gave me a unique perspective of, people can be talented writing, writers, talent is talent, but having a work ethic and having the opportunity to see how a show works outside of just you writing in your room, I think was invaluable for me. I learned deadlines. I learned that a script wasn't just about the writer who was writing it. I really learned about, there's a whole staff waiting for that script. There's a whole staff and crew who me to put their bring that story to life. And it's really a collaborative, and it's a machine, in the best sense of the word. And I feel like if I wasn't in the trenches and I was, again, I would have jumped at the chance. If someone just asked me a script out of college, that'd be great. But I
Yeah.
think personally, for me, I think I would have fallen flat on my face, because I think the pressure would have been too much for me, and my ego wouldn't have been able to take it. I think if that had happened, I think I would have fallen flat on my face and just, went back home. So I'm actually very glad, as hard as that was, that struggle.
Wow, that's really interesting that you don't know if you would have been ready for it right out the bat.
I don't think I would have. I think I would have been so ill prepared. Again, my ego being bruised of me thinking I could do something and, having all the confidence in the world, and again, just failing. And I think that would have been such a hard hit that I personally don't think I would cover. Now, there are obviously stories that people have gotten their script and have been successful and great, and that's fantastic. I'm just only speaking from my own.
Having been on both sides, sometimes there's tension between production and the creative on television shows. I don't know why my voice went out there. What can a writer do to understand production and vice versa?
I mean,
or you haven't come across any issues?
No, besides the would be great if someone in production took a writing class, or someone who was a writer spend a day in production.
Right.
I think I've been on shows where there were a lot of animosity, and I've been on shows where it was great. And the two things, the things that I concede that was different was a writer needs to understand that, again, there's crew. There are other people on staff who is waiting for script. That's their livelihood. What you're doing, though, is great and is hard work. They're doing just as much hard work as you, and vice versa. People on crew, I think, I've come in contact with people on crew who dismiss writers, who are, oh, you guys just sit in your room and eat and just come up with stories. It is hard work. It is hard work to be on crew, and it is equally hard work to be a writer. And I think we have to understand that one does not exist without the other. We have to, when you're a writer, when you're in the room and you want to luxuriate in a scene and, I'll write when the inspiration comes to me, it doesn't work that way. Again, this is other people's livelihood. Much like a crew where it's like, oh, I can't believe it's taking so long for them to write. But sometimes it's just, we are all trying to put out the best product.
Right.
And again, it comes from and then, as you know, it comes from the top down, the showrunner, what their relationship with their crew is, it mirrors what the writer's room's relationship with the crew is.
Right. It's tough on the production office when it's 7:00 at night and the writer's room breaks and they're all cheery and they're all, laughing and going to their cars, and the production office now, they have to work with the script that they were just handed and get it out. And I've heard production office say like, oh, what have they been doing all day? Just like you just said, eating. And now that it's the end of the day, and they don't realize that they've been struggling all day to get something.
Yeah. And then a writer has sometimes a room you get 6-8 hours to write. While when you turn in the script, they have 2 hours to turn that around. It's that's waiting for it. And it's hard. I really believe in my whole heart, the showrunner, the producer is the one that leads the charge. If you are a writer in that room and all you're doing is for the first 3 hours watching videos or YouTube videos or things, it's a waste of time, period. I am, again, because I came from production, time is of the essence. We have to be respectful of everyone's time and boundaries, right? I mean, you've been in the writer's room where it becomes 7:00 and everyone's looking around and nothing's on the board. And the worst thing to hear is, should we order dinner? That's the worst.
I know, that's the worst.
And then that, again, that domino effect, but then that poor writer just has to go to production and be like, hey guys, they're going to order dinner. Production knows, great, I'm going to be here for at least till midnight before I get a script. It's just, again, as a showrunner, as anybody in that room needs to understand, when we're here, we should be working, period. Sure, we're going to have fun, but let's not wasting time nothing, no
Yes.
good. I don't care. I don't care. So yeah, that's what I think. I have had showrunners who have loved to time waste, and have showrunners who've been very productive and be like, great guys, we start at 10, hard out at 5. Let's just get stuff done. And it's been great, you know?
Yeah. Those are some good hours.
Yeah, those are the good hours.
Now, writing. Speaking about writing, you have an affinity for writing dark characters that make the audience think.
Right.
Who are a couple of your favorite anti-heroes in film and television?
I think the one that really spoke to me was Walter White in Breaking Bad. I remember watching that first episode. I remember reading the pilot, and I love that journey. I'm a sucker for a sad sack. And that's what he starts off as, a sad sack
Right.
that grows into something confident, but like does something good, essentially good, but maybe the way he goes about it was wrong. Nurse Jackie, I think, is great too. It's weird because it's
Loved
weird
Nurse
because I don't.
Jackie.
Nurse Jackie's great, right? What's weird is I don't think of them as, anti-heroes, right? I just feel like they're just very human characters. With most of the people, the characters I respond to are actually have a very strong moral compass, right? They aren't
Mhm.
necessarily like evil for evil's sake. They're not mean people. They're not cruel. They are actually good. Again, they just did the wrong thing, and they are trying to correct it or whatever. And I think that's what, I respond to, the complexity of that. People aren't good, people aren't bad, people are just trying to survive.
Mhm.
And then, at that moment was the right decision, but down the line wasn't. I find that very interesting.
When you're writing a more complex, flawed character, how do you keep them from being cliche? For instance, good character is leaving the house and, gets down on their knees and says to the little kid, Daddy will be home, and gets him a teddy bear or something like that,
Right, right.
where the bad guy doesn't save the cat in the beginning.
Right, right. I think what's interesting about that is that I never really, as a viewer, really responded to those like cliches. Cliches never really affected me because I didn't feel like they were real or honest. So whenever I write a character, I don't look for tropes or cliches necessarily. I look for who's this character most like that I know in real life, right? Because
Oh,
the
interesting.
example you just gave of a father going, "I'm coming home, soon," and gives the kid a doll. I've never seen that happen in any. Nobody I know does that. So I wouldn't write that because I'm like, I have no access point to that. Or even a bad guy doing something who doesn't save the cat. I know some of them do save the cat. You know what I mean? Like I come from a place of I try to is find avatars in my real life and kind of write towards those people that I am familiar with, because I feel like that's the only way I can write. So Sandy,
Yeah.
every character I've ever written, there's a Sandy character in any script I've ever written. I'm not even kidding. Like there is a Sandy character. There is, my husband who I love. There's a character of him. Like everybody in my world is in my script. So if anybody wants to sue me, you guys have everybody too.
Vivian, how do you write? Now, of course, you're at the office, you're at your desk, but when you're home or when you just, have 10 minutes outside of the office, how do you write? Are you in a bed? Are you at your desk? Do you have a home office?
I prefer, as you know, my husband writes too. So during the pandemic, we have at that time he was 2 years old. Writing from home was impossible.
Wow.
We ended up renting a office space in Hollywood, which is where I am right now currently, because we just needed the space to write. Now that being said, I'm
Great.
also a mother who has a kid who does not like to sleep alone, which is hard. So what we have done now is I write when I can. Like right now, currently I have my ideal space, office, desk, sunlight. But I've written many scripts at 4:30 in the morning in the dark on my cell phone with my kids snoring next to me. Like Final Draft has an app. So I've been writing. I wrote a lot of scripts again in the dark on my phone with my son next to me because it has to get done.
I miss that. also has an app? Oh, what app were you
Yeah,
using?
Final Draft. Final Draft has an app. I think most Final Draft has an app. Fade In, I just found out has an app, so I am able to like at work write on my computer, save it, and then at home, 4 o'clock in the morning, I just wake up with my kid next to me, still sleeping in the dark. Just click on that Final Draft app, and just keep writing.
Wow,
It's not
that's amazing.
it's not ideal, but you got to do what you got to do, right? So
I I'm in awe. My my hat is tipped.
it's so
That's
hard. It's so hard. But
I think
again, this is just you know, I
yeah, I think
again
I
going back to
remember
being in production. That's just what you had to do. You just got to get stuff done.
you
Yeah,
got to get it done.
you got to get. And honestly, it's like so. I wake up at. This is not all the time, everyone. I'm not a superhero. It's when I have deadlines. When I have a deadline, I'll wake up at 4. My husband has done it. He works at 4:30. It's a beautiful time to write. I am not a morning person, but for some reason that works for me because the world has not woken up. There's no emails to check. I'm not getting any text messages. You're still in that like dream zone.
Mhm.
I can't write at night anymore because I'm so tired.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry that you're tired, but that sounds really nice. The more
It is.
does.
It's great. It's great. I go to
It
bed at
sounds
8 o'clock,
lovely.
but yeah.
Vivian, starting out, what was your biggest misconception of what it meant to be a working writer?
Luxury, waking up, having your coffee, go to a cafe, opening up your laptop and just write and just waiting for inspiration to hit you, have a little lunch, turn in something great that first draft, and then that's it. And then people marveling at it and they totally get your voice. That very romanticized version of, I don't know if I necessarily knew what a TV writer did. I think I conflated like being a novelist, right? Like I still think that's what novelists do, which is not true at all. But yeah, I guess I did not realize how you have homework for the rest of your life, how it's actually work. It's work. It's getting up in the morning and it's a job. You work and then you come home and you work some more. Like it's more than a 9 to 5 job. It's like a legit job and you have to treat it as such. You can't
Yeah, you
wait
have
for inspiration to hit you, You've got to do it.
your latest show from
Mm-hmm.
that just started on Epics. Epics.
Just started on Epic last weekend. They just
It
dropped the first
looks
3 episodes.
really, really good. Can you just tell me a little bit about it?
Yeah, so it is a story of a family who gets stuck in a town that they can't leave. And what's really terrifying is at night, nightmares come out to attack them. So they find themselves with a bunch of town people who have somehow found themselves, it's very Twilight Zone, very lost, where people just find themselves trapped in this town. And what's interesting is that no one knows who built these houses. Things don't make sense. They do their best to live every day as they can, but at night they got to go home because the monsters come out.
Oh,
And what's interesting is I really, this is one of the first shows I worked on that is more horror driven, and I love horror, so it was really fun to write on this show.
that's great. Congratulations on that show. Is
Thank
there
you.
anything else that you're just watching in general that you and your husband like?
Um, as I've stated numerous times, I'm a mother of 4 year olds, so with one TV, so he dictates what we watch a lot of time. We're watching a lot of Winnie the Pooh right now, which is fine. We
Oh,
are currently watching Netflix has that zombie show called I think it's called All of Us Are Dead, which is fun. I love
yeah.
The Great. The Great's great. I'm trying to finish Dickinson, which I think is fantastic. Waiting
Oh,
for
cool.
Succession. Yeah, a lot of what we're watching a lot of the times is like half-hour $1 million listing episodes because we still dream about
Which,
having a house one day.
are you New York or LA or both?
LA.
LA, yeah.
Oh, you mean for $1 million listings?
Yeah.
Okay, so both. We started off with LA well, we started late in the game. We started like during the pandemic. $1 Million Listing was our discovery, and then we started going back and watching New York. So now we're at New York trying to catch up to LA.
Yeah.
Do you watch it?
Yeah, I've watched both. I dropped out of New York for a little while, but I really
Mm-hmm.
like Josh Flagg.
Yeah.
I love him. I
Right?
just love his sense of humor and his old Hollywood style.
Oh, he's my favorite. And I love that they're like best friends. I love that LA started off sort of like contentious, but now everyone's super friendly with each other and like hang out,
It's
which I think is funny. Makes my heart act. It's lovely. I actually love it that they're actually kind of friends. So
yeah,
it's
the
great.
sunshine, it just makes you friends.
It makes friends, guys.
Vivian, thank you so much for answering those questions. I really appreciate it. Do you have time for a pop quiz?
Oh, geez, Louise. Yeah, of course. Anything for you, Sandy.
We're going to play. You wrote the TV show, but do you know the TV show?
Oh,
Now,
crap. Okay.
exactly. We're going to go back all the way to your very first script on Ghost Whisperer. Okay, we'll start off. We always like to start off with an easy one.
Uh-huh.
What this is kind of general, not just to your episode.
Okay.
What is the name of Melinda, Jennifer Love Hewitt, her antique store?
Same as it never was.
Yes, which I don't think I've ever understood. Okay, what?
Reason why I remember it because at least once a year I hear that song, and then every time I hear that song, I remember Ghost Whisperer, and I remember everyone going, "I don't get why the store's named that." So, I
I thought
remember
it
that.
was just me.
Mm-hmm.
What is the name of the actress who played the little girl in the episode Natalie? She went on to
Oh,
become
modern.
regular
Yeah, is her
on
name
another on
Ariel? Is it
another-
Ariel Rubin? That's not her last name, is it?
It's
Ariel,
Ariel Winter.
right?
I'm giving it to you.
That's right. That's right. Thank you. That's right.
Yes.
She was
I
great.
rewatched the episode, to because I'm such a professional because I was doing this quiz. Um, and I was like, "Oh, it's Ariel." She was really good actually in it.
She was really
Um,
good. I remember when she came in and she did the reading, we all looked at each other and we're like, "Well, that's her." So next,
yeah.
it was just like, yeah, it was
No.
an easy find. Yeah.
What was in the box that scared everyone?
In
Ariel when
in
she
my
opened
in my episode, in my
your
box,
episode. It was a box. It was the necklace
a
box.
key. Ah,
It was alive. Remember Ghost Whisperer? I guess
spider?
that didn't make
Was it a spider?
red ant.
And was it a finger? Red
Was
ant.
it
I forgot about
was it
that.
Gwyneth Paltrow? When Trish, the mom and soon-to-be bride, goes through the linen drawer, her finger is cut by what?
Oh, you gotta be kidding me, Sandy. I have.
Okay, I won't drag this
I
out.
have no idea. I have no idea.
An ice pick.
How did an ice pick get in there?
What was placed in the marital bed?
Is it a doll?
It's a rope.
Gosh darn it! I failed this pop quiz.
Yeah, you're not doing very well with the quiz. Um, who died? Oh, spoiler alert.
Oh yeah,
Who dies at the end?
Melinda's husband Jim.
Was that a lot of pressure for your first script to have? To have to write the death of one of the main characters?
If I recall correctly, it wasn't a lot of pressure because obviously we had a good group of writers who helped us. I do remember having a good time writing that death scene, and I do remember that is the first time I ever got hate mail from the fans. I remember getting hate mail of like, "You killed Jim. How dare you?" And I thought it was so delightful. This was back in the day where it was actually like hate mail, like literally mail that you could touch and feel that was sent to the production office, and somebody gave it to me, and I just pinned it on my wall, and I was like, I made it. I made it.
Oh my goodness. It was. I thought you did a really good job in the scene and poor Jim
Poor
leaving.
Jim. Yeah, they really shot that really well too. Yeah,
Yeah,
I do remember
and
that
it was
part.
well, Vivian, I'm going to give you this anyways. You lost the pop quiz.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Okay.
Oh my
Wah,
goodness
wah,
gracious.
wah. But we won because we got to talk to each other.
Yes. And
Yeah.
would it be okay if I said something at this point about you and how much I love you?
Oh, sure. Go
Is that
ahead.
so? I really believe that a lot of people, we spend our lives just kind of with different soulmates who come in and out of our lives, right? And you are the person that essentially helped me down this trajectory of where I am, and I will eternally be grateful every time. I mean, I kid you not. I think about you all the time, Sandy, because you were the one that gave me the confidence and vouched for me and helped me get not only American Dreams, but Ghost Whisperer and my first script on Chaos. And so you are one of those people that I will always, always, always hold dear to my heart. So you're the magic
Vivian.
maker, Sandy.
Oh, thank you, Vivian. That is so sweet, and you do the heavy lifting. You're so talented, and I'm so proud of you. And I love you.
I love you very much, Sandy. All right.
Okay. I hope you will come back and
Yes,
give your family a big hug for me.
I will. And now that I know this pop quiz is about old episodes, I'm gonna have to rewatch everything that I wrote.
Yes, you're going to come back and do
Oh
another
boy.
pop quiz.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
Sandy. Thank you. Bye.
That's a wrap for the Writers Hangout. Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe, like, and thrive. Till we get to hang out again, keep writing. The world needs your stories. The Writers Hangout is sponsored by the Page International Screenwriting Awards. Executive producer, Kristin Overn. Producers, Terry Sampson and Sandy Adomaitis. Music by Ethan Stoller.